Roll. Oh my. Hello, 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 hello. How we doing? How we doing? How we doing?
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you.
What's
Thank you.
going on, ladies? How we doing? Welcome all. We welcome you all to Wealth Bridge, and today is going to be another exciting episode. You know, we bring you value all day, every day, so we welcome you all. I want to welcome my wonderful sisters, Modupe, Adebola. How you guys doing?
Doing great.
All right,
Greetings, everyone.
awesome. Adebola, how you
I'm doing
doing?
great. I'm doing great.
You're
It's
doing
nice to
great.
be
Awesome.
back.
Good. It's always glad to be back on this channel. We just want to appreciate all our viewers. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for the comment. We want you to continue to share this with as many loved ones. It's very important that everything we teach on this channel, we need you to understand that this is to bring us value, especially if we are most of us in the diaspora as immigrants. It's very important that some of the topics we bring up are concerning issues that needs to be addressed. If no one is talking about it, if no one is bringing it to our to our kitchen tables, how do we understand some of all these things, and how do we take advantage of some of the systems, some of the nations we're in? We're currently in North America right now, and there's a lot of things going on, and a lot of things that we need to know as immigrants. Today we're going to be talking about understanding taxes as an immigrant. Whether you're somebody who's been here for some time, whether you're somebody who's just, relocating, down to the United States, there's certain things that you need to know. And, if you don't understand how the system of a nation works, that system can work against you and not for you. So it's very important that we understand this thing. So, to just jump right into it, the very first thing is what is taxes? What is this taxes? Who is even collecting this thing? What does it even mean to us? So I'm going to let Adebola chime in on that. What is taxes, and who's collecting these taxes?
All right. Thank you, Demola. And hello, everyone. It's good to be back again. And like Demola just said, is taxes in here in the United States. And I think this is just the right topic for this period. And I'm
Mm.
going to say this is just tax 101, just letting you know the basics of actually, if you are new, you're going to be filing taxes, your tax for the first time, or this year or next year, or just want to know what this thing called taxes are here in the United States. So it is important that this could be confusing to many immigrants, but getting it right is very important because misunderstanding the system can lead to like loss of funds, penalties, or you may even miss your benefits. So, what are taxes and what are they used for? They're actually mandatory. It's something that we need to do. Everybody, it's like our duty to our nation. So it's like a mandatory financial contributions that you have to pay as an individual, and also businesses do pay taxes, and we pay this to the government. And the funds are used in different ways, to fund public services, infrastructures, our schools. And in this country, that most of the public schools you don't have to pay to put your kids in public schools, but our taxes actually take care of that. So these are the things that the taxes go for, and it saves us a lot of money. is our duty to pay taxes as it is in the United States. So I would that taxes are just the fee that we pay to live and operate in a functioning society. So that's the reason why we have to pay taxes structures. We talk about public, mention the fact that in the education system and even the healthcare and some social programs, the taxes also go to fund that. We have things like social security and so on and so forth. So it's a responsibility, I would say, and something that we should understand and know and do it right. Thank you, Demola.
Awesome, awesome. And viewers, some of you might know about this thing, some of you might know what we're saying, and some of these things might just be absolutely strange to some people. And that's why we're bringing this. Knowledge is very, very important. The Bible says, "My people perish because they lack knowledge." So we don't want you to have the notion that, I don't want to pay taxes. I don't, if you don't know, you can't do better. But once you know, you could do better. And some of the types of taxes that we pay, especially in North America, and especially if you're a worker in this system, you're paying income taxes, which is taxes on your wages, your salary, your business income. There are payroll taxes, especially those that, they fund like your retirement, your healthcare programs, like Social Security and Medicare, in this country. You have sales tax, you get taxed when you buy things, you buy goods and services. Those are taxes you pay on those, those goods. Property tax, these are paid by, property owners, to fund local services like schools, like the police. So these are some of the types of taxes that we have here in North America. I'm definitely going to let Modupe chime in on, you know, understanding taxes as a new immigrant on the job. What are the type of taxes, the three main layers of taxes that we see there, and some of the key tax forms that new employees, new workers that are coming into the diaspora, into the American system, the North American system, what should they know? What do they need to understand when it comes to this area? Thank you,
Thank you
Modupe.
so very much. Thank you, Demola. And between yourself and Debola, you guys gave like the foundational. I know we're kind of having a little glitches, but I'm sure our audience heard everything Debola was saying. She was explaining and getting into the detail. It's a serious 101, right? When it comes to taxes that she was providing and explaining out there. Now, for any new immigrant, just, stepping their foot into the shores, right, of the North American region, just like we heard Debola said, it is a mandatory responsibility of every single person that lives here in the US. As long as you earn income, as long as that entity earns income, you have to give something back. And from what you give back is what is being used for certain infrastructure, government social programs, and all that 9 years. Now, when someone starts working here in the US as an employee, because you can literally step your foot here in the US and not even work as an employee. Okay. So I want to make sure I just make that clear out there. Somebody might come in today and become a business owner, but I'm looking at the lenses from the perspective of being an employee, which means you have an employer and then you are the employee. You're employed by that employer. Few things are very critical. Now, because your employer does not trust you enough to give you your gross income, guess what they do? They will withhold something from there, from your gross, so that such will be earmarked to federal income taxes, another earmarked to state income taxes, and that depends on what state and what state. Some states don't have that requirement. State like Texas, states like Nevada, state like Florida. But again, I'm not going into the 9 years of what states, will not have a state income tax. And then the last category of taxes you will probably see your employer, impose on you will be the payroll taxes. They have to. It's a requirement. And when it comes to payroll taxes, this is the combo of Social Security taxes and Medicare taxes. Now, these are typically automatically withheld from every single employee's paycheck. So they will take this out from your paycheck before they give you the remaining pay. And I just hope myself and my colleague hope that whatever you have in your paycheck is able to take you home, right? He's able to take you home. So having said that, while that is the standard here in the US, every single employee is expected to have an understanding of that. Now, the story does not end at that point. So which means your employer is going to do this as often as you've been paid. Employers pay out, bi-weekly. Some employers pay out every month, right? So if we take the hypothetical example of an employer that pays every month, which means they're going to do that for 12 times pay period in a year. And at the end of the year, guess what? Then the real final tax obligation reporting responsibility now falls on you, right? Which means now you've paid certain amounts, it has been withheld. Whether, you like it or not, it's out of your own free volition or not, no questions asked. They will take that out from you. Now, and at that time of filing process, you now have the responsibility to present, right, what I call a self-reporting process, which is what we know here in America right now, where it's March. And so beginning from January to April 15th, because April 15th is a tax day in America. So from that January till that time, all personal income taxes reporting phase comes to the open. And then you begin to see a lot of people trying to file their taxes. Now, the conversation today is not going into entities, okay? So we're not looking into the corporations, the S-Corp, we're not looking into that. We're just looking into an individual coming in. How can they better understand? These are very critical. People need to know that it's been deducted from their gross, right? And at the end of the day, whatever remains is what they take home. Now, conversation about whatever they take home, if it's going to take them home, is a different conversation. And I don't think this topic today is what we are talking about as far as that's concerned. So that is how to explain to a layman, an immigrant coming in, so they can understand taxes in the context of the American system. Back to you, Demola.
Awesome. And still on that, talking about that, I know there's certain key forms that as workers that you must, you must understand, you must present. Could you tell us a little bit about some of those what some of those tax forms look like?
Yes, excellent. Yeah. And again, because there are structures in place here. And I believe Debola touched on that when she was saying who is responsible, who are the authorities responsible, right, for tax collection and all that. At the federal level, we have what we call the Internal Revenue Service, okay? IRS, many of us will call that and we say Uncle Sam. That's your favorite uncle, right? That so much likes you and expects you to put back something in his coffin at the end of the year. That is IRS, right? So IRS has certain forms that has been established because, again, there's a system. Because there is a way, if there's structure and a system, you won't miss it. So every single employer, once they get in their onboarding period, there is something called the withholding form. Withholding form is W4, right? W for Willow, 4 as in number 4, okay? So W4. Every single person will have to indicate that they usually will sign, because at the end of the day, you will be signing under the penalty of perjury that this is what you're doing. Now, certain things I'm saying that, well, I choose to withhold, or I choose to have you withhold so and so from me, asking you about how many dependents do you have? What is going to be your filing status? Many people, many immigrants just coming in newly at that first day of getting that job, maybe we are not aware of what we're feeling. Some people will just, feel it anyhow without having an understanding of what we feel. And to be honest, whatever you're doing on that W4 is your literally giving instruction to your employer and saying, Mr. Employer, this is what I would like for you to do with my pay. You could choose on that form to say, well, I want to go exempt. Don't take $1 from me. That's your choice. It's all on you. You could also decide and say, oh, take so much from me. So there are certain ratios in which, our folks look into that. And to be honest, Debola, you will agree with me, in our practice, if we'll have to get $1 for every time somebody comes to us and asks us, oh, what is a W-4? Oh, I need help with filling my W-4. We probably be millionaires, right, by now. For every dollar we get from people asking that question. People don't understand it enough. But again, seek help. It's important that you do it right than do it the wrong way. That is W-4, like I said. Now, at the end of the year, you will get what I call W-2. Again, W for Willow, 2 for number 2. What that says, again, it just gives you a statement of your wages and salary for the year. And on there, you will find out what is your wages, what is your gross, how much, has been withheld for federal, how much you paid for Social Security income, how much is your Social Security, taxes. Same thing with Medicare. Same thing with Medicare taxes. This form is what you will need as an employee to now report out as your final tax obligation responsibility at the end of the year. So every employer has a responsibility to give that to all employees, and they in turn will sit down and have to use that in filing their tax return. Now, that is W-4, that is W-2. Now, there are quite a few things. W-9, in this case of W-9, it's a withholding form, not for an employee this time around, but for non-employees, those we can consider or categorize as independent contractors. So again, they are saying, well, I'm signing, that I'm an independent contractor. And most people feel out, W-9 as either sole proprietors, as partnership, or even LLC, depending on who they are contracting with. These forms are critical. You need to know what it is you're signing. And for each form you sign, people, wonderful immigrants out there, you are signing under the penalty of perjury, that all the information you provided is true and correct. We're doing right by ourselves and not do anything that will, work against us. There are plenty of other forms, right? 1040, 1099, 1098. It might sound like a jargon to a lot of people out there. And that's the reason why conversations like this, we can have it on the panel section. If you need more information, you seek more knowledge in this area, you want to have specific questions, customized and tailored to you, reach out to us. We'll be able to work and guide you through. Our focus on this podcast is to leave everybody educated, on subject matters that we bring to the table so that we're constantly adding value to our community. Demola, I hope I answered the question you asked.
Wow, you did an awesome job, going through that. And, we can, this is just, we just have a very few time on the call this today. And that's why it's very important that if you need more understanding, definitely reach out to us, put a comment in the chat so that we could definitely do a deeper dive, with you one-on-one. But I'll definitely love to ask Adebola this question about, what are the advantages or disadvantages of filing, these taxes properly? Because you just mentioned to us that if you don't even file these forms properly, you could be under you could be under some legal problems.
Yeah.
So nobody wants to. You don't want to leave where you came from to come here to think you are coming to the American dream, and your first 2 years you're in prison. You go to jail for not doing something the right way. So it's very important that we do. They say if you know better, you do better. But if you don't know better, how can you do better? So Adebola, please chime in on what's important for people, to file their taxes properly, the advantages and the disadvantages. You could just chime in real quick.
All right, Demola, thank you for that. So let's talk about why you need to file your taxes properly. Mudukwe has said a lot, and it's just something that we need to do, and not doing it properly could lead to some losses and some penalties and all that. So filing taxes accurately will provide you with some important financial and legal benefits. And one of them will be your access to your tax refunds. Tax refunds is something that people look forward to. Let me put it that way, because it's just simply you receiving back the taxes that that you shouldn't have paid. So overpaid taxes. So there's a process that Modupe mentioned, which is the tax return, filing your tax return, which allows you to receive those those funds back from the government, those money that you paid in taxes that probably you shouldn't have paid. So if you don't file your taxes or file it properly, you may not get what is due to you. All right. So we have to make sure that we consult experts to help you to do the right thing. Some could also file their taxes by themselves using a lot of file tax return software. But if you are not really good at it, make sure you consult an expert, a tax expert on that. Another thing you should know is that your tax return also comes as a proof of income, and the proof of income is needed for a lot of other things here in America. Tax return with is an official document that shows that you actually had income in the previous year. And this will help you when you're applying for mortgages, when you're applying for loans, either car loan or whatever loan. They want to see that you have a job, or you had a job, or you made money. So this is somebody that is responsible, that we can trust enough to give this loan to. And also even the immigration applications, something that I just want to show that this is a responsible person, individual, not a liability. All right. So if you don't have a properly filed tax, or don't even file your taxes at all, then you won't have that. This also makes you eligible for some other benefits, which includes the tax, what do you call it, the earned income tax credit, the child tax credit. These are benefits that comes with filing taxes, at least based on my experience. These are some of the things that I have seen, and I know if you don't file at all, there's no how you're going to have access or be eligible, or not eligible, or have access to receive those credits. All right. So another thing is, let me talk about the immigration documentation. Tax compliance can strengthen your application that involves legal residency or citizenship, and things related to that. And this is because they want to see that you are financially responsible, and that you have income transparency, which is good, that this is a responsible person, a hardworking person who is contributing his or her quota to the economy of this government. And then those are some of the things that they will want to see, to know if you deserve to get a residency in the United States. So among other things, these are some of the advantages of filing your tax correctly. And the opposite would be, if you don't file your taxes correctly or properly, you may miss out on some of these benefits, and that is not what anybody would want. All right.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And if you don't understand, the advantages or disadvantages of how things work, there's no way you could definitely let the system work in your favor. Because once you understand how the advantages, then you see why it's so important for you to file taxes, and not just file taxes, to file them correctly, because this is very, very, very important. And we've seen some of the benefits, and there's so many other benefits that we can't even just mention because of time. And that's why you could have a one-on-one with us, whereby we do a deep dive with you to help you out in these areas. But I also want us to talk about common tax mistakes that immigrants make in the US. Like we said, there's some people who've been here for quite some time, and there's some people who are still even new, who are coming in. If they don't understand some of these mistakes that people make during the tax seasons, it could be very detrimental to them. So Modupe, could you just chime in a little bit of some of the tax mistakes that you see out there that a lot of people make?
Thank you, Imola. There are a lot of mistakes that a lot of immigrants, make. And this time around, I'm really saying the global immigrant. I'm not just looking at one side, okay, that fits the coin. Because I see it over and over, both from the Asian community. I see it also, from the African community. And some of them, just to take a stab at a few of them, is not even filing taxes at all. So individuals will literally take the standpoint and say, yes, I did not make enough, I shouldn't file. And to be honest, there is a threshold in which an individual is required to file, which means if you do not make enough income that year, you're not required to file. But I would take a stab at what Debola said. There are certain credits, right, and deductions that you might qualify for. Not everybody qualifies for everything, okay? It's not a free lunch, come and take your own share. No, you have to put in the work in the form of filing a return to see if you qualify, right, for that. And half of the time, if you're not required to file taxes, you don't have to file. But if you want to claim back all the taxes that has been taken away from you or withheld, remember how I mentioned that your employer takes out certain things automatically? In that instance, if you want to collect that money back, you will have to file to be able to receive it. So many people make the mistakes and not file at all. And if they fail to file, which means they cannot even claim their refund, which means they don't have access to those tax credit, which means they don't have the proof of income, just like Deborah was mentioning. And I've seen quite a few situations. People will say, well, I was ill. Oh, I didn't even know I have to file. But I tell you, there's a good news. There's a statute of limitation. So if you're still within a 3-year phase period, you can still go back and file taxes if you've probably missed it the first time because you have a tax document. Many people do not know, and I'll let out the cat out of the bag. For every tax document you receive as an individual, the second copy, I call it the twin copy, I call it the sister copy, goes to IRS, which means they have your documents. So if you want to make sure you avoid those surprise letter, hey, surprise, after 2 years or 3 years, and then you may open your mail and somebody's telling you owe so much in taxes because you probably did not file, and you don't even know if you have a balance due, and the balance due now has passed through 1 year, 2 years, increase in penalty and all that. Those are mistakes people make. And so it's important that we take note of that to avoid it. Other things is that immigrants are coming in newly and they are claiming incorrect dependents. Meaning they are literally, some people will say, yes, my husband is a dependent to me, my wife is a dependent. No, it doesn't work that way. Some people will say my cousin, my children, they just begin to say all of those. But there are requirements for you claiming the correct one. So seek help from those who really know what they are doing. IRS has set out the rules, right? And tax return preparation could come from just a simple preparation to complex. So if you're still around the simple type, just one W-2, just a 1040 easy type thing, maybe it's something you can take a crack at yourself by reading through the publication and understanding and making use of the free tax software, just like Debola talked about. But as you begin to explore or now take an opportunity with more complex tax returns, you want to seek help. You want to seek help if you're not a professional because you might miss the boat. Other things is that many immigrants are so interested in just going into people that are unlicensed, patronizing themselves as tax preparers. And then they begin to create artificial, tax deductions. I'm telling you. So they are very creative in those numbers, and individuals fall into those categories. And then few years down the lane, you get a letter in the mail. We need to avoid that. Misunderstanding contractors' income and even, having an incorrect withholding statement with our employer. All of these things are just you setting up yourself for disaster. We need to avoid it. Many more, but I'm going to stop at that junction. Thank you.
Wow. I mean, awesome. I really want to appreciate you, Modukwe and Adebola. I mean, you guys have done a wonderful job, trying to explain to our viewers. And I want us to understand, right now, currently, we're in the tax season. We're going to be, if this has brought a lot of value to you, there's so many other things that we couldn't even bring to you that we'll be talking about. If you want to understand, certain concept, maybe tax avoidance, tax evasion, what do these things mean? are they strategies that I can use to limit or to minimize the amount of taxes I'm paying? Are there ways whereby I can avoid it and not evade it? Because one might be legal, one might be illegal. So if you want to really know a little bit more, we'll be bringing this to you in our next episode. So stay tuned. Remember to subscribe, share, and like. We love you. We appreciate you. I want to say again, thank you, Adebola. Thank you, Modupe.
Thank
You
you,
guys have
sir.
always
Thank
been
you.
wonderful, wonderful partners. And I want to say to our viewers, thank you. God bless. And we love you. Have a wonderful day. Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.